I have an FAFO and FAO for the red state of Kansas. Yes, GM is laying off 900 workers immediately, canceling their second shift. Yes, they voted for the Trump administration and Republican. Yes, this is severely going to hurt Kansas and the surrounding area. This is one of many FAFOs that Republicans and MAGA have received. Just remember, they control the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. If you did not hear yesterday on October 1st, the very bad economic news was the negative 32,000 jobs created in September. Also, unemployment is as high as 6% in some states. The government is on day 2 of shutdown. This is a major FAFO for those who voted for Trump. Drop a comment and follow for more.
World headquarters right now. Today, the company laid off roughly 1,000 workers. It's all part of an effort to reorganize the company amid a challenging environment.
We're talking about a $2 billion restructuring plan, and for GM, that involves layoffs. And today, there were about 1,000 GM workers who were laid off, mostly white-collar workers here at the Warren Tech Center. And this isn't the first round of layoffs to affect workers here in Warren. Back in August, GM laid off 1,000 workers. About 600 were impacted here at the Warren Tech Center. We're talking to experts about the auto industry as a whole and the future for auto workers.
GM just fired almost 40,000 people. The buyouts will probably be for more, but that's about what people will take. It's hard to imagine 40,000 people losing their jobs at a big car company, but GM wants to be in the EV business. According to a couple newspapers, they aren't doing a very good job. So maybe firing all those people to save money is such a bad idea.
Yes, the recent layoffs announced here at General Motors, not a good sign for the company, but it could also be a sign of the many challenges the auto industry is facing, like the EV dilemma.
On your block in Macomb County, where General Motors announced it will lay off 1,000 white-collar employees. This is the second layoff announced in as many months.
Reaching effects in the auto industry, and is coming under a Trump administration, and that is tariffs.
As the recent layoffs at General Motors is perhaps a warning sign for the auto industry moving forward.
They've started nearshoring or bringing their supply chains back to the U.S. or closer to the U.S.
Hi guys, this is Tiana and you're welcome to Tiana's React. So it started with just one message which says today is your last day. No warning, no second chance, just heartbreak. Over 900 workers at the GM Fairfair plant in Kansas were told to pack and leave. They were told to pack up and leave. Fathers, mothers, breadwinners, all sent home with nothing but fear for tomorrow. A community that builds cars for America are now watching its future fall apart. But let's watch what's happening and see people's reactions to this. But before we move in, please do well to like, share, and of course, subscribe to keep the channel moving.
CBC News is learning that more jobs will be lost. An auto parts company that supplies GM will be laying off 250 workers at the end of this month. The automaker plans to cut the third shift at the plant this fall, a move it blames on what the automaker calls the changing trade environment. GM says U.S. tariffs on cars from Canada and other countries cost more than $1.5 billion.
It is confirmed. My company just sent out an email that they are laying off a large group of people tomorrow morning. In case you're new here, I was laid off in March this year. It took me 6 months to find a new job. Got a new job 7 weeks ago, and now this new job has announced hundreds of layoffs. What am I supposed to do here? Is this like a last one in, first one out situation? Is it like get rid of all the like highest paid people? Is it like keep the new hires because they were hired under a secret pretense of like knowing that these layoffs would be coming, and so we like definitely want the new people? That's gotta be it, right? I'm not even eligible for my corporate benefits. That's how little time I've been at this new job. I'm not even eligible for PTO. I'm not eligible for medical benefits yet. I still have a week to go. You're telling me that I might get laid off before I even get a chance to sign up for that shit. Part of me is like, you can't control any of this, so just move forward, business as usual until it's not. And the other side of me is like, no, we care deeply about this and this will affect our life, and we need to dive deep into every possible scenario over the next 24 hours. It's also weird because like they told us that the people who will be impacted by layoffs will be notified tomorrow morning, but now we just have like a day of work, and I'm like, so we're all just gonna keep working today? I just feel like if you're gonna lay hundreds of people off, like, do it. Just do it. Just do it now. Okay, well, I guess I'll just like get to work, assuming that the shit I'm doing actually matters, because it might not.
Continue to follow breaking news today. There will be a shutdown of the GM CAMI assembly plant.
Yeah, and the workers just found out this afternoon. And from what we're learning, Lena, is that GM is going to shut down the CAMI assembly plant with initiate temporary layoffs starting.
Following the temporary closure of Stellantis's Windsor assembly plant in Windsor, Ontario, which was announced in early April, General Motors is set to make a similar move. This time, General Motors is set to shut down the General Motors CAMI assembly plant in Ingersoll, Ontario. This move is expected to cause a major shake-off to employees and has got the mayor of Ingersoll talking to the press. Sit tight as we take you into the showdown that is beginning to raise dust in Ingersoll, Ontario. On April 11, 2025, General Motors announced that the General Motors CAMI assembly plant in Ingersoll, Ontario will shut down next month, with plans to reopen in the fall at half capacity. Even though there was speculation that linked the shutdown to the Trump tariffs, General Motors has cleared the air about that. The company revealed that the reason they are laying off workers isn't because of new tariffs on goods in the US. Instead, it's because there isn't enough demand for their BrightDrop vehicle, and they have too many of them in stock. As a result, they need to temporarily lay off almost 500 workers. This means these workers won't be employed for an unknown amount of time, but it's not clear how long the layoffs will last. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel with the bell notification turned on for more videos. The facility will close for 3 weeks before briefly reopening in May for limited production. Operations will then be put on hold until October. After that, there will be just one shift at the plant for the foreseeable future. What does this move signal to the people of Ingersoll? Well, just like every report of plant shutdowns, this one by GM has sparked reactions. The union that represents workers at CAMI, Unifor, has said through a statement that this move by General Motors was a crushing blow to hundreds of working families in Ingersoll and the surrounding region who depend on this plant. It also urged General Motors to do everything in its power to mitigate job loss during this downturn. The Ingersoll mayor has also made his voice known in this layoff issue. He mentioned the news of the layoff and temporary shutdown of GM CAMI plants was not a good day for the town of Ingersoll, and that his people, which makes up a large majority of his employees, are greatly affected by this news. When asked if he doubts GM's commitment and the story behind the layoffs, Brian Petrie said that he believed it. He also praised the zealous workforce of Ingersoll and further noted that GM would not have any reasons to doubt that. Before that, he spoke about the long relationship between GM and Ingersoll. In his statements, he mentioned plans in place to alleviate the impact of job loss on those who are placed out of jobs. He stated that Unifor is currently setting up an action center to take care of that, and the community would also respond to help those who need the help. Going by the numbers, maybe this layoff would not have happened if everything had gone well in the books. In 2021, when the BrightDrop electric vehicle first launched, GM hoped that it would become a popular and separate brand for commercial electric vehicles. They hoped that by 2023, they would make around $1 billion in sales. But they didn't reach that goal. they sold only about 2,000 vans in over 2 years. However, because not many people wanted the vans, they decided in 2024 to make BrightDrop a part of their existing Chevrolet portfolio instead. This move caused them to make changes in their Cami plant to fully focus on building BrightDrop vans. They are expected to make up to 50,000 vans each year by 2025. But due to low demand and having too many vans in stock, GM decided to temporarily stop production at the factory. Taking our mind back to what the mayor of Ingersoll said, one can safely that there's a long history between the GM Cami plants and the people of Ontario. Well, let's go back into history to confirm the early days of the Cami plant in Ontario. The Cami plant's story began in 1989 when GM recognized the potential of Ontario's skilled labor force and favorable trade agreements and decided that Ingersoll would become one of its key manufacturing sites. The plant was established to produce vehicles like the Chevy Tracker and later the Chevrolet Equinox. Over the years, it employed thousands of workers who had grown up in the area and settled down having families under their care. Well, just like this today, things weren't always rosy between the Cami plant and Ingersoll. Over the years, strikes, contract negotiations, and labor disputes have gotten the better of the Cami-Ingersoll relationship. For example, in 2009, the Cami plant saw a 2-week strike that revolved around wage disputes. This dispute brought out over 2,000 workers who walked out in protest to fight for their rights. But despite the challenges, the plant survived. Since then, Cami Ingersoll has experienced stability in its relationship with the Ingersoll town and its people. It has become the largest taxpayer and the largest employer of labor in that town. No wonder why the mayor sounded confident that the Cami plant would rise from its shackles, and when they did, the Ingersoll people would be available for them. As mentioned earlier, the layoffs at GM follow the news of the recent layoffs at Stellantis. With this, many have wondered if there are any connections between the two incidents. Well, here's what we know about the 2 layoffs between 2 of the big American auto firms. Both Stellantis and GM have used layoffs to trim their workforce as they shift to more automated production lines. Reuters reports that auto firms are laying off workers to cut out jobs that are no longer needed. What we mean here is that in recent times, plants are now on course to build more EVs. As a result, old-school jobs and roles related to gas-powered cars are now phased out more than ever before. The second similarity in the approach is the intentional drive towards EV transitioning. As you can tell, both GM and Stellantis are betting big on electric vehicles. In GM's case, the shutdown of the Cami plant, as reported by Automotive News, is a part of their massive restructuring plan to align with the EV revolution. Stellantis has been doing the same thing, adjusting their workforce to build more electric and hybrid cars. You can compare this transition to the time when Samsung stopped making button phones. The third similarity can also be linked to their approach to cutting costs. Due to the not-so-great economic situation between the US and Canada, Stellantis and GM are trying to reduce expenses and improve efficiency through any means possible. However, the sad part about this is that it affects jobs. But look at it this way. Both companies want to stay profitable while making these big shifts. Sometimes that means laying off workers and reshuffling their teams. The truth is that whether there is a similarity in pattern between Stellantis and GM layoffs or not, layoffs signify one thing. That is the reflection of a restructuring process within the auto industry, where we see companies trying to stay competitive amid economic pressures from the local and global markets. In a way, these layoffs represent the company's attempts to secure its future, but, unfortunately, at the expense of the jobs of some workers. Going back to the GM Cami plants and Ingersoll situation, we don't know what the future holds. However, if history is anything to go by, the people of Ingersoll are no strangers to hard times like this. What is sure is that they will find a way to push forward, regardless of what it takes.
So guys, this isn't just news, it's pain spreading through Kansas like wildfire. And what's worse, the story is only beginning. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll show how this layoff is shaking families and going viral across the country. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Do well to like, share, and of course, subscribe to keep the channel moving. Till next time.